Taiwan-Lithuania ties are getting warmer. RTI's own Gorin speaks to Lithuanian Parliament Taiwan Friendship Group head Dovilė Šakalienė to learn more.
And as Taiwanese travel around for the New Year holiday, doctors are worried cases of different viruses may grow. This is Taiwan Insider.
Welcome to the show. One of the more interesting recent developments in Taiwanese foreign policy has been the warming of ties with countries like Lithuania.
4 deputy ministers from Lithuania visited last year. And earlier this month, a parliamentary delegation also came.
During that visit, our very own Gorin met up with Dovilė Šakalienė. Šakalienė is head of the Lithuanian Parliament's Taiwan Friendship Group, and they talked about Taiwan-Lithuania relations as well as the international security landscape.
It's my great honor to speak with Dovilė Šakalienė, a Lithuanian member of parliament, and also a member of the National Security and Defense Committee, and also co-chair of the Taiwan Friendship Group. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule today to meet with us. I know you've got a lot going on, and actually you just came from a meeting with President Tsai Ing-wen, if I'm not wrong, is that right?
Prime Minister.
Prime Minister.
We met with your president in the morning, and the last meeting of the day was with your Prime Minister.
I see.
And it's really also a pleasure and an honor to be here. And dear Chris, I'm sorry that probably our interview will be a bit shorter than we planned.
Right.
But also it shows that our intense schedule in Taiwan is related to expanding level and areas of cooperation that we are having between Lithuania and Taiwan. It's not only economics or innovations or healthcare, but also defense and security, which is my area, and I'm very happy about it.
Yeah, sure. And if I'm not mistaken, the last time that you came to Taiwan and did an interview with us was in December of 2021. Obviously, a lot has happened in the realm of security since that time.
Yes.
Of course, the war in Ukraine, the visit of Nancy Pelosi to Taiwan. I did just want to ask you your sense of how security experts in Lithuania and in Europe more generally are viewing these two issues. Do they view them as being sort of interconnected, as like part of one change in the national security of the international security situation? Or are they kind of being careful to separate these two issues and keep them independent from each other?
You mean Taiwan and Ukraine?
Yes.
Well, I think that before the full-scale invasion into Ukraine, most people, most partners in Western countries saw them as separate. But now it's easier and easier for us to understand each other. As I talked to your colleague, it's not that something has changed, but a lot of things have been revealed. They have been there under a cloth of doubt or hesitation or naive wishful thinking. So in that sense, it is absolutely clear that just like Ukraine is not a regional conflict, not a local, not even a regional, but global, in the sense that in Ukraine itself, Russians are committing genocide, dozens of thousands already registered war crimes, and annihilating a nation and a country. But also it affected all Europe. We are under economic attack, and we are suffering a lot of hardships economically and energetically. But of course, these are minuscule in comparison to what Ukraine is experiencing. But in the sense that, yes, of course, energy prices rose up. But at the same time, we've seen immense change in mentality and in realization of objectives. Germany has completely decoupled from Russia energetically in a span of 10 months. That has never been done before. From 1st of January, they buy zero energy from Russia. Who could have believed that 12 years ago or 12 months ago or 13 months ago when I was in Taiwan last time? But then globally, because food supply chain has been interrupted severely, and that's in Ukraine. If Taiwan is attacked, then we have a global conflict that would throw back the whole world, if Taiwan is annihilated, at least 5 decades. Probably we both weren't born then. So in that sense, we can't even imagine how the world would look like. So for us to ensure that, first of all, victory in Ukraine is achieved, because that will determine what will happen if Taiwan. China is a bit better than Russia in planning strategically. So if the cost-benefit analysis shows that democratic countries are able to stay united, act swiftly enough and efficiently enough, then I think that we will have much more time to prepare, and hopefully some changes will also happen. We see unprecedented riots in China currently, so maybe there also is a time for change. The Chinese empire is thousands years old, right? Mm-hmm. But communist rule is for 100 years only. It's a minuscule period of time in the lifespan of thousands of years. So maybe the plague of communism is also about to get eradicated in China. A decade or so, and maybe it will be different. So we just have also to buy ourselves time.
The last time that you were here, you mentioned that Lithuania sort of upgrading its relations with Taiwan, or at least opening a representative office using the name Taiwan.
Taiwanese.
Taiwanese, excuse me.
There was a lot of fuss about it.
Right.
But in my opinion, it could be Taiwan as well, because we are talking not only about the capital, Taipei,
right,
and we are talking about Taiwan, the whole island. So
right,
for me personally, I could understand that. But I know that legally it could be interpreted as a potential violation of the treaty that we have signed just after we regained our independence with People's Republic of China. And Lithuania is very strict in the principles of keeping to the law, because keeping to the international law standards and international treaties is one of the safeguards of our world. Well, China and Russia, of course, we don't know how to keep any treaties, but that doesn't mean that we have to act like them. So in that sense, currently, I understand why the government made a decision to call it Taiwanese representative office.
At the time, you were saying that you felt like Lithuania could sort of provide a leadership role and show how Europe could deal with this issue in a different way. I'm just curious if in the last year, since we last saw you, have you noticed any movement among other European governments that might make them lean towards doing something similar?
I think Czech Speaker of the Parliament is coming this year to Taiwan, isn't it?
Yes. But I guess I'm just wondering if you feel any sort of larger shift happening.
Yes.
Okay.
European Parliament, in that span of 13 months since my last visit, passed several resolutions that were very clear that People's Republic of China is a threat, and Taiwan is our partner, and that expansion of our cooperation and relations in multiple areas is an important aim for the whole European Union. I think the message is very clear.
So aside from the sort of economic impacts that Lithuania and the rest of Europe has been feeling from the Russia-Ukraine war, another issue that's been affecting a lot of them is refugees. I know that Lithuania has taken in several tens of thousands of Ukrainians since the war started. As of December, last I saw, you're getting about 100 refugees per day from Ukraine. I was just wondering if you could speak a little bit about how that's impacted Lithuanian society.
Well, that's registered number. Probably at some time there were even more people coming. We have now about 70,000 people from Ukraine who stayed in Lithuania, but there are a lot of people who are moving there and back, visiting their families and then coming back. I personally communicate a lot with Ukrainian refugees, and for example, one woman with children, she tried to go back to live in Ukraine, but then the front line moved and her hometown was bombed, and with two small children, one of them with disability, it was too dangerous to stay, and she came back again. So, I mean, we have a lot of stories like that, but at the same time, Lithuanians probably never have opened so quickly, so much to people in need, like to Ukrainians. I mean, it woke up something inside us, because we remember what does it mean to be attacked by Russia. And also, I know that for some it seems like minor detail, but for us, when it's being said Russia-Ukraine war, we feel that it doesn't reveal the real situation, Russian invasion into Ukraine, because war between two countries is kind of mutual.
Right.
But here is pure invasion into another innocent country.
I wanted to ask you a slightly different question. I know that you have a long background in human rights work. Another thing that's happened since the last time we talked to you is a report in the UN came out regarding the events in what is known in China as Xinjiang, which is sometimes called by locals as East Turkestan. And you were also in the Lithuanian parliament the member to introduce a resolution to call for such an investigation. So I'm just wondering if you have a reaction to that report coming out, if you're satisfied with the results, and what you think the next steps should be in dealing with this situation.
My resolution was about acknowledging that genocide of Uyghurs is actually happening, and the absolute majority of my colleagues in my parliament voted for it, so it was a landslide vote. So it was for us a very difficult time to wait until United Nations would be also acknowledging that fact, and we know pressure and methods that were used on the commissioner to prevent her from making that conclusion and publishing the report. And the threats and pressure were so immense that, as you know, she did it not only on the last day, but on the last hour of her term. And that says a lot about People's Republic of China methods that we apply. So for us it was only a reiteration what we've said, because in her report she admitted, even after all that pressure, that crimes against humanity may be committed there, and that means that investigation judicially needs to be opened. So that means that international tribunal has to be established, because in that case there is enough justification and ground to start international legal investigation into crimes against humanity that People's Republic of China is committing. So as one of co-chairs and one of co-founders of Interparliamentary Alliance on China, we were, together with my colleagues, I was working on that. We were all really pushing for Commissioner's office to withstand that pressure. So for us, it was sad to see that, the pressure of China was so effective, but we are happy that nevertheless, the main things were said in that report.
As a result of that resolution and probably some of your other advocacy for Taiwan in public, you have of course been blacklisted and sanctioned by the Chinese government.
Badge of honor. I just don't have it physically, but I have it in my head.
We can make one up for you to wear next time.
And this is actually this is also important. Today is the eve of January 13th, 1991, when Russia tried to retake our independence. After less than a year, when we regained it, they tried to crush us, and peaceful citizens were crushed by Soviet tanks without guns in our hands, nothing. So that also reminds us how fragile our independence is, and how important it is for us to be a team and support each other. If not support of the West, which was quite, immense, nobody knows what would have happened. But because media and journalists risking their lives, journalists like you came to Lithuania and risked their lives and tried to report what was going on and tried to share the material with the world, we were able to preserve our regained independence. So with Taiwan, with Ukraine, it's the same. One by one, we can be easily broken. If we are together, then it's not so easy, right?
Right. But I'm wondering, have you suffered at all personally from the blacklisting or the sanctions that they've put on you?
My family suffered more, because automatically Chinese sanction all your family. My husband is a diplomat and also working with Asia issues. So that means that he, as a diplomat, is prevented from ever going to China or Hong Kong or Macau, and that actually is interfering with possible career possibilities or whatever.
Sure.
My son, who is a young student, has also been sanctioned just because he is my son. Right. And that also shows methods of China, but that also shows that they are happy to close part of the world for a young boy just because his mother spoke up against genocide. So, what is there to say?
Well, I'm very sorry to hear that. Your husband, was he stationed in Asia before?
No, but he is working within the ministry. He's now in Lithuania. Okay. He was working with the region and,
What have you learned anything that has really influenced you on this trip to Taiwan, and what do you hope to take away at the end of this trip?
I'm very happy that we have discussed very specific points related to mutual cooperation in the spheres of security and defense. We have a lot to learn from each other, a lot to share, and I think that we can build on knowledge of each other. And I believe that it can make not only us, Lithuania and Taiwan, stronger, but also help in educating the rest of the democratic world on how teamwork could be developed, expanded, and how we could prevent the coming decade from being a decade of war. Chip wars is something that this world wouldn't survive really. So we have really to work together to avoid it. And the positive moment, I mean really heartwarming and inspiring and hopeful moment is that in all our meetings, all your highest officials of Taiwan were really on one page with us. We really see similarly the threats, the possibilities, and our future goals, our future line of work. And that says a lot. That says that we are a team already.
You can also catch Chris's interview on our social media.
One of the reasons why the Lithuanian delegation was able to come to Taiwan so easily was because the country relaxed its travel restrictions last October. This year's Lunar New Year is set to see the most travel since the COVID-19 pandemic began. But that's leaving some doctors worried.
Little Maybao was enjoying her winter vacation. That is, until a case of norovirus left her sick and in bed for days. Health experts are afraid that as Taiwan eases COVID restrictions, this winter may see a 3-year high in cases of COVID, flu, and other respiratory viruses in children. They say emergency room wait times at hospitals may reach 3 to 4 hours during the Lunar New Year holiday. Dr. Chen Wande says because of circumstances like more people going out during the holiday, he expects emergency room cases to increase by 20 to 30%. Experts say because of people traveling during the week-long holiday, another peak may come after the new year. Dr. Li Jianzhang says with throngs of Taiwanese visiting countries facing COVID peaks like Japan and China, the country will see more imported cases, increasing transmission. Doctors recommend parents stock up on rapid tests and medicine as they prepare for New Year festivities. Only then can they safeguard the New Year's most important gift, time together with the family. Welcome back to the show. So the Lunar New Year is coming up this weekend. And Brendan, I wanted to ask you, what are your plans?
Well, I thought we were hanging out, Itamar.
Well, I didn't get the memo.
Oh. Well, actually, just like every Lunar New Year, my plans are going to be eat, and sleep. And then I'm going to wake up and I'm going to eat more, and then I'm going to play a little mahjong.
What are you going to eat? Like, what are some of your favorite foods to have during the New Year?
Oh my gosh, where do I even begin? I think I really always go for the desserts. So I know it's getting a little bit cold here, but I love eating baobing, like shaved ice with all the assortments of toppings.
Is that a New Year's food? Is that like a traditional New Year's food?
I don't know, but honestly,
your family has it.
My family always gets it. So my family's from Tainan. So I'm going to be traveling down to Tainan, and then we always have this specific one where we get baobing from. So that's what I'll be doing. What about you, Itamar?
Myself, nothing really interesting. I will be up here in Taipei. Unfortunately, everyone I know is gone. So either they are going to be traveling abroad, right? Which a ton of people do at this time of the year because it is the only time that, our gracious Taiwanese employers let their workers go off on vacation. But I will not be doing that because radio never sleeps. So I will be here. So some of my friends are going abroad. The rest of them are joining up with their families to do New Year's festivities. I don't have any family here, as you can maybe tell. But at the same time, so what am I going to be doing? I'm going to try to have a dinner at my own house for like the leftovers, like people who I know who either aren't going to go home to see their families or don't have families here in Taiwan. And try to do some kind of New Year meal. But I'll also just be working here because, we have news shifts to do, and so that people like yourself can enjoy this time of year with their family. Somebody's got to pick up the slack.
I also have some news shifts tomorrow, so I'll be seeing you around.
One last question. How do you think New Year's are different in northern Taiwan versus southern Taiwan?
Well, usually, I always travel to southern Taiwan, so honestly, I think you can tell me more about it. It just seems like kind of empty, but ahead of the Lunar New Year, there were so many places around Taipei that were just bustling, like the flower market. I went to the flower market, the traditional markets where you can get a lot of spices and ingredients. Those places are always very packed. But then during the actual Lunar New Year, poof, I feel like everybody's gone.
Wow.
What do you think?
Well, I think just about the same though. I don't know. I've never really had like a really quintessential New Year experience in Taiwan, but who knows? Maybe one of these years, we'll see.
You know, maybe I'll adopt you into my family.
Boy, would that be fun. So that's all we have time for this week on Taiwan Insider. I am Itamar Waksman.
And I'm Brendan Wong.
You can catch us on all of our social media like Facebook, like Twitter.
Or subscribe to our YouTube page.
All right, we'll catch you next week. Bye.
Bye.